Bro, did you hear they're trying to suppress the new Sound of Freedom movie?
Whoa, what?
The Sound of Freedom, the new Jim Caviezel movie that the elites and Disney are hiding from us.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Oh, come on. You've heard of the new Sound of Freedom movie about that Tim Ballard guy stopping, what's a YouTube appropriate word? Traffickers. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I'm about to review it. Can you give me like...
AMC's been turning the AC off and leaving the lights on so people won't watch it.
AMC? You mean the shitty theater that's on the verge of bankruptcy?
Yeah!
Did any of that stuff happen to you?
No, but the lady in front of me wouldn't shut the up the entire time and was talking on her phone. Oh my god, Disney must have sent her.
Dude, why wouldn't AMC want anybody to go to the movies right now? Don't they need the money?
Well, I don't know, Josh. Maybe it's because the Disney cabal of pedophiles don't want you watching the film and finding out about the message.
Hey, you're kind of scaring me right now, man.
You don't believe me? Whatever. Enjoy watching your fucking Barbie movie, bitch.
Oh, come on. Hi everyone, this is Josh, and today we're reviewing The Sound of Freedom. As a quick heads up, this review will contain some spoilers, so you've been warned. While you're here, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you can help your boy out in the algorithm. Thanks. Dude, I don't even know where to start with this film. I could make a dedicated video responding to the ridiculous conspiracies about how Disney or AMC didn't want people seeing it. This film popped up on my radar when I saw that it outperformed The Dial of Destiny at the box office on the 4th of July. This was kind of a big deal since The Dial of Destiny hadn't even been out for a week. It is incredibly mediocre, which could explain its underperformance, but still, it's a massive summer blockbuster with a huge budget and recognition versus this fairly unknown independent film that was partially crowdfunded. And that leads me to the plot. The Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about Tim Ballard, a DHS agent who ends up quitting so he can go on a mission to rescue a young girl from sex traffickers in Colombia. Some critics have gone after this film for being QAnon adjacent, as The Guardian puts it. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know what QAnon is, it's a wide-ranging conspiracy movement that believes the world is run by a secret cabal of pedophiles who worship Satan and are plotting against Donald Trump. Yes, I did not make that up. The central piece connecting this film to QAnon is the star of the film, Jim Caviezel, who has expressed support for the movement and has publicly talked about how the cabal or whoever is torturing children so they can properly extract adrenochrome, a substance that QAnon believes is consumed by elites so they can stay young. From what I can tell, this movie doesn't explicitly peddle any QAnon conspiracies, and so saying it's influenced by QAnon I don't think is quite accurate. The one thing I can probably accuse this film of, though, is stoking the flames of this insufferable marketing campaign by conservative voices leading you to believe that they don't want you to watch this film, they're trying to stop you from watching it.
When it comes to actually fighting sex trafficking of children, the media have completely blacked out Sound of Freedom.
What these people fail to understand is when you suppress thought and expression, you create pent-up demand.
Story could be shown.
Disney didn't want it shown.
I appreciate Angel Studios for making a statement that AMC is not trying to suppress their film, but there's a special message during the credits of this film where Jim Caviezel talks about the Pay It Forward program, and while he's talking about it, he says this.
For a couple of months, while Sound of Freedom is in theaters, these kids can be more powerful than the cartel kingpins, or presidents, or congressmen, or even tech billionaires. We believe this movie has the power to be a huge step forward toward ending child trafficking.
I don't care if you accuse me of reading into this too much. I think it's weird, or at the very least, a little careless to be putting cartels, Congress, and big tech in the same sentence, which could easily be interpreted as all of them not wanting you to see this film.
This story could be shown.
Disney didn't want it shown.
This idea that Hollywood or the elites don't want you to watch this film because of its message is so silly when you consider the hundreds to thousands of films that Hollywood has made about this exact topic or similar topics. Taken as a great example, probably one of the more influential and successful thrillers of the 2000s that spawned a terrible yet very profitable franchise. You could also bring up Eastern Promises, a film loved by critics and fans with a few Academy Award nominations on top of that. I'm totally okay if a film wants to market itself in a provocative way, making it seem like it's maybe an underdog amidst this tough market of sequels and remakes. But don't give me this crybaby bullshit victim narrative where you pretend like the media or the elites are trying to suppress or ignore your film. Maybe the reason why the critics didn't hype this film up that much, guys, is because it's kind of just average. I think Angel Studios had a great idea and some great source material, but the film underutilizes its premise, in my opinion, settling for a basic narrative that ends up coming off as kind of shallow. The entire time I watched this, I could not stop thinking about the film Prisoners, yet another film with similar subject matter that has a lot more to say and way more flavor as a thriller. What I loved about Prisoners is that it uses its premise about the kidnapping of two girls to tell a deeper story about the metaphorical prisons people find themselves in when their faith falters from experiencing intense tragedy or trauma. Instead of just making its characters very black and white hero and villains, it puts its characters in these morally ambiguous situations, forcing you to ask yourself if you would be willing to do the same awful, depraved things these parents do to save their children. There's even some symbolism with mazes, which connects to the theme of imprisonment, not knowing what choices will free you from despair. I'm not saying this film has to be super dark or more narratively complex like Prisoners necessarily. I'm just saying that, unlike Prisoners, there's not much beneath the surface with The Sound of Freedom. I was hoping the film could provide a more nuanced or detailed view on how child trafficking normalizes itself in society. There is one point during the film that it kind of does this through the character that Bill Camp plays. He reveals about halfway through the film that the reason why he wants to shut down this industry is because he at one point unwittingly paid for sex with someone who happened to be a minor. He was understandably horrified by this and how this kid treated this encounter like it was business as usual or something very normal for them. I was hoping the film would continue to build on this point and show in more detail how society wittingly or unwittingly creates the demand for this type of black market. It would have been way more interesting than watching this film just tell me over and over again that human trafficking bad, while this boringly written protagonist carries out these sting operations that have about as much tension and excitement as an episode of CSI or Law & Order. It's really disappointing that I felt more emotion watching the real-life CCTV footage of all the children getting kidnapped at the beginning of the film than I did with most of the actual story of the film that follows. It was more engaging when it followed the little girl as you see her journey from when she's abducted to where she ends up. Loved how the film opened up with that beautiful dolly shot that comes through the window to introduce this innocent character. Unfortunately, the film insists on spending the majority of the time with Tim Ballard, who has an interesting story, but they don't develop his character beyond the fact that he's a former DHS agent and a father. Who cares? I would have loved the film to flesh out the conflict going on with his family and how he's not home often because he's out there trying to help other kids. Could have got some intense argument scenes with the husband and wife, Tim Ballard's kids saying you're never around and seeing him visibly struggle with that. But like most other things, it's touched on very superficially and then the film moves on. I would say the overall presentation of the film is fairly competent. The cinematography, especially by Gorka Gómez Andrew, was very solid. But a big weakness for me was the music. It's often overbearing and melodramatic, especially in the beginning. It's used a lot to make up for this mostly slow and cheesy undercover operation where Tim Ballard has to pretend to be a pedophile to catch another pedophile. The music just cannot save the awkward pacing of this scene. It ends up just being distracting and mostly annoying. I think the performances are decent for the most part. Even the child actors I thought were not bad. I think Bill Camp brings a lot of charisma and delivers easily the best performance of the film. Unfortunately, Bill Camp is not able to save such bad dialogue like,
"You hear that? That's the sound of freedom."
Oh, I hate it. Oh my god, I hate it when they put the title of the movie in the dialogue. It never sounds good. Guys, The Sound of Freedom is far from being a bad film. You can tell that there was a lot of passion and effort in telling this story. I think people who care passionately about this topic or people who like very straightforward crime procedurals will like this, but for the people looking for something deeper, all you're really gonna find is a lackluster script that is better suited for a PSA than an actual film. I'm gonna give The Sound of Freedom a 2 out of 5. Thanks for watching this review, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you thought about The Sound of Freedom in the comment section below. If you like what you see, then hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you can know when I drop the next review. It's probably going to be Oppenheimer or Barbie. I will be releasing a video about the Dial of Doo-Doo because, I mean, I've already talked about it in 2 different videos now, so I feel like I'm entitled to at least give it a quick review, I guess. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.